I, 39-year-old male, am on a Christmas holiday with my wife's 36-year-old female family. I have a dairy allergy, which means I can't eat butter, milk, yogurt, or cheese. Everyone in the family knows this, especially my mother-in-law who is in charge of cooking. The first 2 nights for dinner, we had raclette. If you don't know what that is, it's basically when you chop up your own vegetables and fry them on a little stand. Then you add cheese, which you then grill on the same stand. Raclette is literally just fried chopped vegetables and potatoes, unless you have the cheese. Furthermore, it takes about an hour to grill enough to feel full. Okay though, I made it through that. I just had extra nuts and chocolate. It's Christmas after all. So on day 3, we were supposed to have a more substantial meal with mashed potatoes. However, my mother-in-law forgot about my allergy and put butter and milk in them. Instead of telling me and saying sorry, she assigned this guy, my wife's sister's partner, who is known to be extremely unreliable and depressed, to make a dairy-free mash. He boiled some potatoes and blended them, making a watery potato-only soup consistency broth. This was served on the table in a saucepan with the rest of the meal that I could have. I asked for a bowl and poured out a portion of the potatoes, and then offered it around to others. No one wanted any, including the guy who made it. This was the point at which I just had enough and got seriously angry inside. So I made an excuse about having promised to call my mom and picked up the remaining meal and bowl of watery potatoes. I left to another room where I called my mom, and I poured it down the toilet and just ate bread until I was full. My wife came in absolutely fuming, telling me I had hurt the guy's feelings and that it was so rude to leave the dinner table. I laid my cards on the table and asked why I had not been thought of for every single meal. I'm never asked what I want, and it's not hard to make things dairy-free or to buy some extra stuff, etc., etc. My wife says I should just suck it up and that the guy made an effort. I replied that he is not a kid. If I made something that atrocious, I would not expect anyone to eat it as if he was a child whose feelings I shouldn't hurt. I'm now in the doghouse. Apparently, no one believed my needing to call my mom story. Am I the idiot here? Edit. I forgot to mention that they all barely speak English, as we are in France. My wife is half French. This might explain why I'm not involved in meal discussions. Edit 2. It's not really possible for me to cook my own food in this situation. It's hard to explain, but my mother-in-law and that side of the family are the cooks. We don't really get any input, and when we offer to help, we are turned down. Edit 3. My mother-in-law has known me for 5 years and knows about my intolerance. She is just forgetting about me, which is okay. It happens. I got mad because they served me something basically inedible and acted like nothing was wrong instead of just saying sorry and getting me bread. Edit 4. A lot of people want to know what else was there. We had a portion of fried pork, and there was a saucepan of cabbage. There was no bread, so, without the potatoes, the meal was just pork and cabbage. 5. It's a cow's milk intolerance, meaning lactate doesn't work. Edit 6. Lots of people are still saying I should fix my own meals or go to the shops and get my own supplies. This is not really a polite thing in this situation. Otherwise, I would 100% do that. You have to trust me on this one that it was not an option, and it would cause more offense if I offered to do that. Reading the balance, it's quite a mixture. I think I handled the situation poorly, but I don't know what the correct plan of action would be without having to A. publicly reject eating it and offending my mother-in-law and the other guy, or B. pretend to like it and potentially be forced to eat an entire pan of it. I would have taken option B if potentially any of the others at the table had decided to try it, but it just felt humiliating, as everyone could see how bad it was, and it would be obvious that I was faking enjoyment. I think if I had better social skills, I could have maybe joked my way through. Perhaps it wouldn't have been humiliating to fake enjoyment, and I could have just raised my eyebrows at everyone to let them know I was just being polite. Final update. We just had breakfast. I apologized for leaving the table and doubled down on my mom phone call excuse. I had promised a certain time, yada yada, and said it had nothing to do with the meal. The guy apologized for messing up the potatoes. I told him they were fine and that I was sorry he thought I left the table because of that. Everyone seems satisfied, but I'm pretty sure everyone knows the real reason I left. I will play some chess with the guy later to mend things further with him. Okay, final edit. I'm slightly shocked by some of the replies. Some of y'all are clearly from a different planet. Yes, it's quite rude to leave dinner halfway through. And yes, it's quite rude to serve someone food they wouldn't want to eat. But neither is actually as terrible as some of you seem to think. Everyone makes mistakes from time to time, and sometimes there is a bit of drama. Everyone is friends now and has forgotten the incident. It was just an unfortunate situation where I didn't have a good out. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm a fiend for gluten and dairy, but I was making a holiday feast this year with a friend who cannot eat either. Really was not that hard to skip making gluten things and not use any butter. I just made smashed potatoes instead of mashed. Get some small potatoes, boil until soft, smash on a baking sheet with olive oil and bake until crispy, because they sounded tasty and were something that worked for everyone. I think part of being a good host is making sure everyone is really included in the meal. Comment 2. If cheese was the only thing not included in your portion of raclette, why are you upset with that meal? Also, I get not wanting to eat watery mashed potatoes, but you are nearly 40. Are there no dishes you can contribute to dinner that you know you can eat? You are acting like a little kid throwing tantrums, rather than managing your food needs. Make some suggestions. Cook. Talk to the folks cooking to ask what the plans are, and if it's a light dinner, you can plan to supplement. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice. Well, buckle up, because the past 3 days have been a roller coaster. After the mashed potato incident, things seemed to calm down. We had a quiet breakfast the next morning, and I thought the drama was behind us. But boy, was I wrong. That evening, my mother-in-law announced she was making a traditional French dish for dinner. I was hopeful she'd remember my allergy this time. She didn't. The dish was a creamy chicken casserole loaded with butter and cream. When I saw it, my heart sank. I could feel the tension at the table as everyone else dug in. My wife gave me a look that said, "Please, not again." I tried to keep my cool, but inside I was fuming. I ended up just nibbling on some bread and vegetables, trying to appear unbothered. The next day, my wife's sister and her partner, the same guy who made the watery potatoes, got into a huge fight. It turns out he had been feeling underappreciated, and my reaction to his cooking attempt was the last straw. He packed his bags and left, leaving everyone in shock. My wife's sister was in tears, and somehow I became the scapegoat for their relationship problems. That evening, my wife confronted me. She said I had been selfish and inconsiderate, and that my actions had consequences. I tried to explain that I was just frustrated with being constantly overlooked, but she wasn't having any of it. We went to bed angry, and I felt more isolated than ever. The following day, my mother-in-law pulled me aside. She apologized for forgetting about my allergy again and promised to make it up to me. She spent the whole afternoon preparing a special dairy-free meal just for me. It was a kind gesture, but the damage was done. The atmosphere at dinner was strained, and I could tell everyone was walking on eggshells around me. To make matters worse, my wife's sister returned from a walk with a shocking revelation. She had found out that her partner had been secretly dealing with depression and anxiety, and my reaction to the mashed potatoes had pushed him over the edge. She blamed me for not being more understanding and for adding to his stress. I was stunned. I had no idea he was struggling with mental health issues. I felt guilty and ashamed for my part in his departure. I tried to reach out to him, but he wouldn't take my calls. The rest of the trip was tense and uncomfortable. I felt like an outsider in my own family. My wife and I barely spoke, and I could tell that her family blamed me for the turmoil. It was a relief when the trip finally ended, and we headed home. Now for the next story. I, 36-year-old female, and my husband, 35-year-old male, host Christmas for the family every year. My family is Church of England. None of us are the type to force our beliefs on anyone else. Other people have different beliefs, and it is incredibly rude and pointless to disregard that. However, my sister, 32-year-old female, is an atheist and doesn't want religion to be a part of her or her children's lives. We sometimes bicker about this, as she doesn't want me to practice my religion in front of her, for example. At meals with her, I will still say grace, but she gets annoyed at me doing that in front of her kids, despite the fact that I never ask them to do it with me. Edit. This is any time I might be eating a meal when she is present. It could be at a restaurant, it could be at a third party's home, it could be in my own home. When I say grace at her home, it is in my head, although I still bow my head and hold my hands together as usual. When I say grace during any of the other occasions, it is the same as how I always do it, quietly and for myself, not for anyone else in the room. End of edit. Anyway, Christmas is a very important event for my family, and my husband and I always host it as we have the biggest house and can accommodate all the guests. My family always stays over for the week surrounding because I don't live near any of them. My sister was previously always invited, and she'd come with her kids in the afternoon after we'd all been to church for the present giving and receiving, and then she'd stay for Christmas dinner. However, she always has a problem with everyone saying grace or singing carols together. She says she feels forced to participate and that we're influencing her children, despite her making it clear that she doesn't want religion around them. Last year, when she put up a fuss about it, it was more intense than usual, and she said that we're all idiots for believing in this rubbish and that there is no God and that Christianity ruined Christmas. While I know that a lot of the traditions are pagan, what Christmas celebrates is directly tied to Christianity, so I'm not sure what she was on about then. I told her not to go to a religious event if she's so against religion, and to stay home and practice whatever secular traditions she wants. She said she goes to Christmas every year because she wants to see the family, but more that she doesn't know how to refuse the invite. So I said that this year she won't be getting an invite, so there shouldn't be a problem. I stuck to my word, and she isn't invited this year. She called me a jerk for blocking her out. From the family. Everyone is perfectly respectful of her beliefs, but she isn't of ours, so I don't want her there at all, which is important to our beliefs. I think that's fair, but am I the idiot? Edit. People have said I am anti-LGBT, and I'd just like to say that I am bisexual, and while I don't know anyone who is transgender, I know enough more than basic biology to respect any transgender person. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Everyone sucks here. You should say grace at her house, knowing full well she doesn't appreciate your doing that. She doesn't like the religious events at your house, and gripes about that. You should each respect the expectations established by the host in their own house. I guess I'm lucky that these internecine issues didn't spoil Christmas for me growing up. While we had devout Catholics, Lutherans, agnostics, and atheists in the family, we treated Christmas dinner as an opportunity to get the families together and enjoy a meal without making it into a contest over religious beliefs. Comment 2. Not the idiot. However, you are wrong in believing that Christmas is a Christian holiday. The name got changed sometime way back, but it is actually another pagan tradition. Now, there are a few different pagan varieties, as pagan tradition wasn't the same everywhere. A few of the most practiced pagan traditions of Christmas are decorating the tree, lighting a fire, in the fireplace, and of course, the wreath. I believe gift exchanges and a few other things have carried over as well. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a month since I shared about the Christmas drama with my sister, and boy, do I have an update for you. So, after I decided not to invite my sister to our Christmas celebration, things got even more heated. She started a group chat with the whole family, blasting me for excluding her and painting me as the villain. She claimed I was trying to tear the family apart over religion, which couldn't be further from the truth. I just wanted one peaceful day where we could all celebrate without her constant complaints. My parents, who've always been the mediators, tried to smooth things over. They reminded us of the time when we were kids and we'd put on plays for them. My sister and I would always fight over who got the lead role, but in the end, we'd work it out. They hoped we could find that same compromise now, but my sister wasn't having any of it. She accused them of favoring me because I followed their religious beliefs. Meanwhile, my husband, who's always been my rock, was getting fed up with the whole situation. He reminded me of how we met at a friend's wedding, where we bonded over our shared values and respect for each other's beliefs. He couldn't understand why my sister couldn't show the same respect. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my sister showed up at our house unannounced a week before Christmas. She demanded to be let in, saying she had every right to be there with the family. I was shocked, but let her in, hoping we could talk it out. The conversation was anything but calm. She accused me of brainwashing her kids the few times they'd been over and seen me pray. I was stunned. I've always been careful to practice my faith quietly around her family, just like when we were kids, and she'd get mad if I even mentioned church. It escalated quickly, and she ended up throwing one of the Christmas decorations my husband and I had picked out on our first holiday together. It shattered, and that was the last straw for me. I asked her to leave, and she stormed out, but not before saying she'd make sure the whole family knew how intolerant I was. The family was split. Some understood my position, while others felt I was being too harsh. My cousin, who's always been the gossip of the family, spread the story like wildfire, embellishing details and making me out to be some sort of tyrant. Christmas Day came, and it was bittersweet. The family that did come tried to keep the mood light, but there was an obvious void where my sister and her kids should have been. We all missed them, even though the day was free of arguments. But here's where karma comes into play. My sister had planned a big, secular Christmas bash at her place, inviting friends and family who were on her side. She wanted to prove she could throw an even better Christmas without any religious nonsense. However, on the day of her party, a massive snowstorm hit. Roads were closed, and nobody could make it to her place. She was left alone with all the food and decorations she'd put so much effort into. She posted pictures online, trying to make the best of it, but you could see the disappointment in her eyes. Meanwhile, our quiet Christmas ended up being one of the most heartfelt ones we've ever had. Everyone shared stories of past holidays, and we all realized how much we valued our time together, regardless of our beliefs. As for my sister, she hasn't spoken to me since, but I heard from my aunt that she spent the night of her failed party looking through old family Christmas photos, possibly reminiscing about better times. Now, for the next story. I, 26-year-old female, spent December 22nd to 26th with my boyfriend's, Luke, family, staying at his parents' house along with his sister, her husband, and their kids. It was a long few days, to say the least. It's very cramped quarters, 3 bedrooms, 1 full bathroom, and very different from my own family's Christmas. Luke's family, especially his mother, are not my biggest fans, which is totally fair, as we're all very different. His niece and nephew are unruly, they eat food that I don't, and overall, it wasn't what I would call a good time. Nevertheless, I went to Christmas at Luke's request, and tried my best to make sure I wasn't a burden or embarrassment to Luke while he spent time with his family. Today, we left to go home, and tomorrow, I will be going to see my mother for a few days before returning for New Year's, when Luke and I will be attending my friend's party. The party is a black tie event that Luke is not looking forward to, as he doesn't know or like anyone going besides me. In the car on the way home, he joked that he really wasn't looking forward to going. I joked back that I made a sacrifice going to his family for Christmas, so now it was his turn, and at least the party was only a few hours. Luke got offended that I said seeing his family was a sacrifice, and asked if I really meant that. I said yes, I did. Obviously I did, since I pretty much subsisted on coffee for 3 days. His niece ruined a piece of my personalized luggage set, and his family clearly don't like me. I said I was happy to go for him, and I would do it again, but it wasn't enjoyable for me beyond seeing him happy. This was apparently deeply offensive to him. As he said, he felt like he had a nice family Christmas, and now that he knew I was pretending the whole time, I had ruined the memories. I'm a bit confused as to how he would think I legitimately enjoyed being cold, hungry, and having no privacy for days on end, and not being with my family for Christmas. But either way, it was a choice I was happy to make for him, and it's not the end of the world. I don't see how I'm the jerk for pointing out, humorously and with no malice, that I made a sacrifice for Luke. But he's been cold to me since I said it. Am I missing something here? Edit. It won't let me comment since this is a new account. Don't have the karma. So for everyone asking about the food, why I mostly had coffee, I didn't want to seem like a jerk for buying and cooking my own food while there. Luke and I went to the store and I got a few snacks that I didn't need to keep in the kitchen so as not to offend his family, but obviously I couldn't be eating those all the time. So at breakfast, I had coffee. For lunch, I had another coffee/snack. And for dinner, I just ate what I could of whatever they were having, normally a bit of the side dishes. I thought it would come across as really rude to buy and then use their kitchen to cook myself a whole separate meal. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Not even a little bit. You're obviously either a great actor or your boyfriend is oblivious. Either way, good on you for sticking it out. I highly recommend getting your own place when visiting people, particularly in-laws. As a general rule, I do not like staying with other people in their homes. There are certain daily routines that just do not benefit from additional people in a space. Comment 2. Luke was trying to tell you he didn't want to go to the party. He expected you to say, "Okay, honey, we won't go if that makes you uncomfortable." He didn't expect to get hit back with a nuclear truth bomb. It seems Luke is perfectly fine with you being uncomfortable, as long as he isn't. If your long-term goal is being married, remember this red flag. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice. So a lot has happened in the past 3 days, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. After the whole Christmas ordeal with Luke's family, things got even more intense. We got back home, and I was looking forward to a few days of peace before the New Year's party. But peace was the last thing I got. The day after we got back, Luke was still acting weird. He was quiet and wouldn't really talk to me about what was bothering him. I thought he just needed some time to cool off, but boy, was I wrong. I went to see my mom as planned, and while I was there, I got a text from Luke that just blew my mind. He said he needed space and that he was going to stay with a friend for a while. I was shocked. I mean, we had a fight, but I didn't think it was that serious. Now, here's where things get really crazy. Luke's friend, who he said he was staying with, is actually his ex-girlfriend. I found out because she posted a picture on social media of the two of them together, looking way too cozy for just friends. I couldn't believe it. I felt so betrayed. I called Luke immediately, we'd out, and he tried to play it off like it was nothing. He said they were just catching up and that I was overreacting. But I knew better. Luke and his ex have a history that he's never been completely honest about. They were together for a long time before he met me, and I always had a feeling that he wasn't over her. The next day, I was still at my mom's, trying to process everything, when Luke's sister called me. She said she heard about what happened and that she was sorry. I was surprised because she's never been on my side before. But then she dropped another bombshell. She told me that Luke's mom had been talking to his ex behind my back for months. She was the one who encouraged Luke to reach out to her. I couldn't believe it. His own mother was plotting against me. It all made sense now. The coldness from his family, the way they treated me, it was all because they wanted him back with his ex. I was furious. I felt like such a fool for trying so hard to fit in with his family when they clearly didn't want me there. And Luke, I couldn't even look at him the same way anymore. How could he do this to me? How could he let his family meddle in our relationship like that? I confronted Luke about it, and we had a huge fight. He admitted that his mom had been talking to his ex, but he said he didn't think it was a big deal. He said he was just confused and needed to figure things out. But I wasn't buying it. It was clear to me that he had been lying to me for a long time. The next day, which was the day of the New Year's party, I was a mess. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go to the party alone, but I also didn't want to stay home and sulk. In the end, I decided to go to the party by myself. I figured it would be better than sitting around feeling sorry for myself. The party was awkward without Luke, but my friends were there for me. They could tell something was wrong, and I ended up telling them everything. They were just as shocked as I was. They couldn't believe Luke would do something like that. As the night went on, I started to feel a little better. I realized that I didn't need Luke or his toxic family. I was better off without them. I danced, I laughed, and for the first time in days, I felt like myself again. But then, just when I thought the night couldn't get any more dramatic, Luke showed up at the party. He tried to talk to me, but I wasn't having it. I told him I knew everything and that it was over between us. He looked devastated, but I didn't care. He had made his choice, and now he had to live with it. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.